Bad news. There was something wrong with me. My body needed regular skin-to-skin contact, or it turned red, broke out in rashes, and hurt so badly I wanted to crawl out of my own body. Good news, I got dropped into a world full of therians. To keep the flare-ups under control, I bought a pair of white tiger twins. Arthur Sterling had Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Felix Sterling took Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. On Sundays, they arm-wrestled for the extra night. That Sunday, neither of them could pin the other, and I was about to suggest sharing the night when glowing comments began scrolling across my vision. God, the villainess is disgusting. Does she even know both male leads throw up every time she touches them? Poor things. They can't even be with a girl they actually love. They're trapped letting this hideous freak paw at them every single day. Whatever, Chloe's here now. She'll save them both. And the villainess gets skinned alive for messing with Chloe's men. I can't wait. I jerked back so fast I nearly tripped. Actually, never mind. Not tonight. Between them, the twins had already shed 4 pieces of clothing in 3 seconds flat. They stared at me, half naked and utterly confused. They frowned in unison. Are you sure? Why, yeah. I snatched up their shirts and shoved them back into their hands. I'm wiped.
Seriously.
You two should get some sleep too. Arthur looked me over, slow and careful. You don't look okay. Want me to call a doctor? I started to answer, but Felix already had Arthur by the arm and was pulling him toward the door. Don't fall for it, Arthur.
She's fine.
This is another one of her games. Act like she doesn't care tonight, then squeeze more out of us tomorrow. She's calling it off. Great. Felix scoffed. Let's head back to base. The door clicked shut behind them. At least we'll get 8 full hours of sleep. His muffled voice drifted through the wood. The comments flared back to life. LOL. Back to base.
Sure.
They're going straight to Chloe. The villainess tried playing hard to get, and the male leads literally walked out. I'm screaming. Obviously. Chloe's a 1 in a million S-class woman with a 99% compatibility match with both of them. A low-tier human never stood a chance. So that was why I'd woken up in the therian world after I died. I hadn't been reborn. I'd been shoved into the villainous role in someone else's love story. Therians sat at the top of the food chain in this world, and every one of them had a rank, S, A, or B. But no one knew the nation's most celebrated S-class, white tiger twins hadn't started as decorated generals. They'd started out dying in a cage. When I first arrived in this world, I had almost nothing. I had a little cash, no connections, and a body already falling apart from withdrawal. Touch starvation hit me fast. If I went too long without contact, anxiety hit first, then insomnia, then fevers. That left me shaking and bedridden. I'd heard beast slaves were legal, so I went looking for a cheap B-class therian, anyone who could keep my symptoms under control. Instead, I found 2 bloodied, half-dead boys crammed into a wire cage. The merchant acted like they weren't worth the floor space. He said their injuries had suppressed their bloodlines so badly that their therian class wouldn't even show up on a scan. He called them broken rejects and named a price so low it felt insulting. I couldn't make myself walk away. I scraped together every coin I had and took them both home. After that, I worked 3 jobs to pay for their recovery. Every dollar went toward medical-grade ointments, painkillers, and clean bandages. I changed their dressings myself, cooked their meals, and helped them bathe when they couldn't stand. In exchange, we made a deal. Once they healed, they'd stay and help manage my condition. They agreed. Then they healed completely. Their white tiger bloodlines came roaring back, and both of them awakened at the highest S-class tier. They were 1 in a million. Within 3 years, Arthur rose to field commander. Felix became the military's top sniper. But they kept their word. They stayed. Whenever one of them was sent on a mission, the other made sure to stay behind. They never left me. Without someone there, I should have been grateful, and I was mostly. But I wasn't stupid. I knew neither one of them wanted to be there. Arthur went quiet whenever we were together. Felix never let me forget that I wanted too much, needed too much, was too much. I used to tell myself therians simply weren't built for tenderness. I told myself our arrangement was transactional, and transactional was enough. I got what I needed, they paid back what they owed, and no one had to pretend it meant anything more. Now I knew how the story ended. Those two didn't just walk away. They destroyed me. They tore me apart. And, according to the comments, I'd earned every second of it by getting in Chloe Harper's way. A chill ran down my spine.
No.
I had to let them go. I couldn't do this anymore. Once I'd made up my mind, I called the downtown contract registry. The woman on the line made it sound. Since I still had the original bill of sale, all I needed was my ID and a signature on the release simple papers. I dug out the old bill of sale and headed for military headquarters. We'd lived under the same roof for 5 years. I wasn't going to end it over a call. The least I could do was give them a clean break, face to face. I knew the way to Arthur's office by heart. But before I could knock, a woman's voice drifted through the door. Hi, bright and sweet. Please, you two, come with me on this mission? It's my first time leading a squad by myself, and I'm honestly freaking out. I won't be able to breathe unless you're both there. Through the gap in the door, I saw her, a rabbit therian with soft curves, wide eyes, and a smile that could make a whole room lower its guard. Arthur answered her in a murmur, so gentle I barely recognized his voice. Even Felix, who had never once spoken to me without some blade in his voice, sounded patient. With her, he sounded warm, even. The three of them looked like they belonged together, easy and comfortable with each other. I froze outside the door, stuck between knocking and backing away. Then Felix looked up and our eyes met. The warmth vanished from his face in a blink. He yanked the door open. What are you doing here? Arthur moved in front of the girl behind him before I could answer. It's not what it looks like. She's a new teammate. We were going over a mission briefing. UGH, the villainess just had to show up and ruin the mood. Read the room. Watch. She's about to lose it over Chloe. No wonder the male leads can't stand her. The harder she clings, the more pathetic she looks. She's doing this to herself. I got a clear look at the girl behind Arthur. Delicate, gorgeous, the kind of effortless sweetness that made me feel clumsy just standing near her. My stomach dropped. This had to be Chloe. The female lead the comments wouldn't shut up about. And if the comments were right about everything else, crossing her meant an ugly death. I backed away, hands up, shaking my head. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. You're busy.
I'll go.
Arthur and Felix both started to speak, but I didn't wait around to hear it. I turned and ran. I made it maybe 10 feet before a hand closed around my wrist. Felix pressed a key into my palm. My office. Wait there. He didn't explain. He turned and went back inside, so the operation really was urgent. Felix's office was nothing like Arthur's. Papers and files swallowed every surface. Chairs, desk, floor. The only clear spot in the room was the military cot. I sat on the edge because there was nowhere else to go. The wait stretched on for over an hour, my eyelids grew heavy, and at some point I stopped fighting it and sank into the mattress. I woke to something warm and wet dragging over my collarbone. The curtains were drawn. Felix hovered over me, one arm braced beside my head, the other unbuttoning my shirt. His lips moved along my neck, hot and wet, and heat rolled off his skin in waves, that scorching, furnace warmth only a white tiger therian gave off. I jolted fully awake and shoved at his chest. Felix, that's not why I'm here.
He didn't stop.
His voice brushed low against my throat. You're my bed. Why else would you be here? You never come looking for us unless you're flaring up. His fingers kept moving. He slipped another button free, then another. I bit down hard on his shoulder. Felix hissed through his teeth, and his hands stilled. He pulled back enough to look at me, and something crossed his face I'd never seen before. Real surprise. I used the opening to shove him off. I said no. He caught himself on the edge of the bed and stared at me for a long beat. Then a low laugh rolled out of him, the kind people use when they think they've figured you out. He arched a brow. Is this about Chloe? You saw her and got jealous? He shook his head. Don't. She's our mentor's daughter. He died last year. Before he passed, he asked us to look after her. Felix's tone changed, still casual, but threaded with a patience he never had for me. She just enlisted. It's her first time leading a squad alone. She came to us for advice. That's all. He leaned in again, close enough for me to feel his heat without touching him. Thing is, I have to go with her on this one. I'll be gone for the next 72 hours.
He paused.
Then his voice dropped lower. That means you won't have me around for a while, Master. So let me take care of you before I go.
Yeah.
Nobody could resist Felix when he turned that charm on, and my body was already wired differently from everyone else's. I didn't pull away when he kissed me again. That lasted until the comments exploded across my vision. HHH, Felix called her master? Are you kidding me? What did the villainess ever do to deserve this? Honestly, Felix runs his mouth, but he's never once bailed on his responsibilities to her. Not once. Stop shipping them. It's purely physical. His real feelings are for Chloe. The original novel makes that crystal clear. I watched the words scroll by, and the heat in my chest froze over again. I bit down on his lower lip, hard. Felix ripped away with a hiss, and the want in his eyes died instantly. His jaw tightened. His throat worked. He was 1 second from tearing into me when I spoke first. Felix, I came here today to end the contract. Yours and Arthur's. He went completely still. Then rage took over his face, fast as a fuse catching. I just explained this to you. Chloe's our mentor's daughter. What the hell is wrong with you? Is this another tantrum? The word tantrum landed on a bruise that had never healed. For 3 years, every year after the first 2 that had been Felix's favorite accusation. Every time my skin flared at 2 in the morning and I had to call him home, I was throwing a tantrum. Every time he came back from a mission bleeding and I couldn't stop crying, I was making a scene over nothing. Every time another woman got too close to Arthur or Felix and I tried to draw a line, I was starting drama, where there wasn't any. 3 years of swallowed hurt came down on me at once, and I felt the last thread inside me snap. I cleared my throat. I'm not throwing a tantrum. I've made my decision. I came here to give you the papers. Felix's face darkened. He opened his mouth to argue, but the office door swung open before he could get a word out. Arthur stood in the doorway with a stack of files in hand, probably fresh out of Chloe's briefing. His eyes swept from Felix to me, taking in my half-buttoned shirt and the wrecked cot. His brow creased. Lock the door when you're doing that. Call me when you're done dealing with this. We still need to lock down the timeline for Chloe's op. He was already turning to leave when Felix stopped him. Arthur.
He paused.
You haven't heard. Hazel's done with us. From the corner of my eye, I saw Arthur go still. His tiger ears flicked once, a tiny, involuntary tell. 10 minutes later, I was fully dressed and sitting across from both of them like a suspect in an interrogation room. Arthur spoke first. Why? I couldn't tell them about the comments, so I grabbed the only excuse I had. I'm bored with you. The silence lasted half a second. Arthur gave a cold, humorless laugh. Felix looked like I'd slapped him. Bored with us? Hazel, do you have any idea how many women in this country would kill to be in your place? We're the ones putting up with this, and you're bored. Good for them. I kept my voice flat. They're not me. This was a transaction from day one. Is it really that wild that I want out? The word transaction hit Felix like a second slap. He opened his mouth again, but Arthur lifted a hand and cut him off. Arthur's expression hadn't moved. The same stone face he wore into every briefing and every battlefield. If losing me bothered him at all, he didn't let it show. Are you sure you've thought this through? I paused, then nodded. My eyes burned, and I had to look away before it became something I couldn't hide. Arthur stayed quiet for a few seconds. All right, then we'll do it your way. Arthur dash. Arthur silenced him with a raised hand, his gaze still on me. Whatever else this was, you saved our lives. You can stay in the house for now, and the savings are yours. Felix and I ship out in 2 hours, so our things will have to stay for now. Is that all right? It didn't feel like a real question. The house was military issued under their names. Eventually, I would be the one leaving. But I nodded anyway. Arthur walked me through a few more logistics about dividing what little there was to divide, then told me to go home. They'd sort out the details when they got back. I said okay, and got up to leave. I was halfway across the headquarters courtyard when I realized I'd left my documents in Felix's office. I turned back. As I reached the door, Felix's voice hit me through it, raw, unguarded, nothing like the version of him I ever got to hear. Why did you just agree? What if she actually means it? What if she really doesn't want us anymore? Arthur's voice stayed steady.
Cold.
Why are you panicking? Did you forget what her condition does to her? You mean, her touch starvation is so far gone, she can't make it 24 hours without contact. She can't leave us. Not physically. There was something in his tone I'd never heard before, not cruelty exactly, but a clinical kind of contempt. She saw Chloe, got jealous, and now she's staging this whole contract stunt to get a reaction. She wants us to chase her, and the second we do, she's got us on a leash. Freeze her out and let her sweat. She'll figure out real fast who needs who, and she won't pull this again. A pause. Then, quieter. Besides, she still has our bill of sale. She hasn't used it against us yet, but there's no guarantee she won't. If she wants to terminate the contract, we're better off. Felix's voice came back tighter. What if she finds somebody else? Who? Arthur almost sounded amused. We put the word out, and that's it. Not a single therian in the Empire will touch her. Once the symptoms get bad enough, she'll come back on her own, crying and begging. The comments burst across my vision. Oh my God, is she eavesdropping right now? She must be eating this up. She probably thinks this means they can't live without her. The delusion is unreal. LOL, I'm dying. She doesn't actually think they like her, right? This is literally just habit. And possessiveness. Nothing more.
Exactly.
Wait until they spend this whole mission with Chloe and see what a real S-class woman is like. They'll forget this woman exists.
Still, it makes me sick.
What does some plain human side character have that Chloe doesn't? Why does she get to have them at all? I read that last line and smiled, thin and bitter. How could anyone watch this and think those two actually wanted me? If they cared at all, my condition would have hurt them too. They wouldn't be sitting in that office right now, turning it into a weapon. I waited until they left the building, slipped back inside for my documents, and went straight to the registry office. I signed everything. Arthur was right about one thing. The flare-up hit less than 12 hours later. It started as a low, gnawing anxiety that kept me staring at the ceiling all night, clutching my pillow, turning over and over until the sheets twisted into ropes. Then my skin followed. Every inch of me felt like it was crawling with fire ants, and my temperature kept climbing no matter what I did. I dragged myself to the nearest clinic on legs that barely worked. The doctor on duty saw my name on the intake form and backed away from me, hands up like I'd pulled a weapon. Miss Brooks, I'm really sorry. We don't have anyone here who can treat your condition. You'll need to go somewhere else. I held up the thermometer. 102. I just need something to bring the fever down. That's it. He kept shaking his head and wouldn't let me pass the lobby. Security escorted me out before I could say another word. The comments told me where the twins were while I was burning up alone. Missions really are the ultimate bonding trip. The male leads finally realize the female lead is S-class, and you can literally see the shift in how they look at her now. HHHH, the second Chloe got cold, both of them panicked, and went full tiger just to keep her warm. I can't breathe. I thought of those two massive warm bodies, the furnace heat of white tiger therians, and every nerve in me screamed for contact. So I went to the beast slave market. The merchants who used to fall all over themselves to greet me took one look at my face and turned their backs on me.
Out.
We don't serve you here. Don't block the door. You're bad for business. The twins had made sure of it. Arthur's warning had spread through every stall and back room, and not a single therian in the market would come within 10 feet of me. Even the female beast slaves ducked their heads and gave me a wide berth the moment they saw me, terrified even being seen near me would ruin them. I had nowhere left to go, so I went to the black market. After searching for 3 solid hours and finding almost no real options, I finally bought a snow leopard therian. The second I got him inside my front door, I reached for his clothes. The little snow leopard's ears went bright red. His fingers locked around his belt like it was the only thing keeping him alive. And master, maybe we should, get to know each other a little first? I let go of the belt. My fingers traced a lazy circle across his abs.
Sure.
How do you want to do that? And maybe your name first?
Oh.
I blinked at him, dead serious. Hazel. Yours, Silas.
Great.
Introductions done. Time to get down to business. The black market only carried unranked stock, bottom of the barrel. When I found Silas Thorne, I never expected him to satisfy me. Arthur and Felix were top-tier S-class, and even they couldn't always keep up. A scrawny little snow leopard from the underground? Not a chance. I was wrong. Silas's hands were clumsy at first, tentative, unsure. But once he found his rhythm, something shifted. He took over completely. I went from coaxing him to hurry up to begging him to slow down. Silas, maybe we should get to know each other a little more. A quiet laugh brushed the shell of my ears. Aren't we doing that right now? By the end, I wasn't just sated. I was wrecked. I lay boneless on the mattress, too spent to lift a finger. Silas, somehow, looked completely refreshed. He ran a bath, carried me in, and washed me head to toe. By the time he brought me back, the sheets were already changed. Then he made chicken noodle soup, sat on the edge of the bed, patiently spoon-feeding me until the bowl was empty. Satisfied, Hazel? He crouched beside the bed, chin propped on the mattress, watching me with those steady, gentle eyes. His tail had appeared at some point, a massive puff of silver fur swaying lazily behind him. The question made my face burn. I reached out and pushed his face away. Corners. Just turned his head and nuzzled into my palm, smiling until his eyes crinkled at that. Arthur and Felix had never once been like this. Every time they touched me, it felt like they were clocking into a shift. Afterward, I was the one drawing baths and cooking late-night meals. Sometimes they'd hold me while they slept. Most of the time they didn't. There was one night, a bad one. My fever spiked to 104, and the chills were so violent my teeth wouldn't stop chattering. I crawled to Felix's side of the bed and pulled at his sleeve. He rolled over, back to me. There's a drill at 0600. Don't start. I dragged myself to Arthur's room. He woke up, stared at me for a long moment, then pulled the blanket off his own bed and wrapped it around my shoulders. Then he got up and went to sleep in the next room. The next morning, they saw my fever-flushed face. Why didn't you say something? From Felix. Tell us next time. From Arthur. I actually believed they cared. The comments sliced through my memories. Iconic scene. The male leads got hurt saving Chloe. Oh my God, Arthur took a killing blow meant for Chloe, and Felix carried her on his back for 20 miles through the mountains. I'm literally sobbing. Chloe was on Felix's back and tried to lick his wounds for him. He dodged, but he was so obviously flustered. Help. Something sour and sharp rose in my chest, and I couldn't tell if it was grief or just the old ache of never being enough. 5 years. I changed their bandages, cooked their meals, bathed them when they couldn't stand, worked myself to the bone until I had nothing left to give. And none of it mattered as much as one girl reaching for their wounds on instinct. Silas leaned in and brushed his tail across my cheek, catching the tear at the corner of my eye. Hazel, the soup's getting cold. I ducked my head, swallowed the tears, and opened my mouth for the spoon. It was sweet. I didn't know whether I'd gone too long without contact or my condition had gotten that bad, but even after everything Silas gave me during the day, the discomfort crept back at night. I called his name. Before I could even explain, he understood. He pulled me close and held on. We spent the next 4 days in a warm, hazy blur. The comments flickered in and out, keeping me updated on the three of them. According to the play-by-play, Arthur and Felix had fallen for Chloe hard and fast. At this rate, they'd make it official the moment they got back. After that, the script was predictable. I'd noticed the shift between them spiral and lash out in worse and worse ways. The twins would lose patience with me piece by piece, until even glancing in Chloe's direction was enough for them to accuse me of plotting against her. I knew how that story ended. I'd already read the comments. So, I decided to move out. The twins had said I could keep the house, but I valued my life more than square footage. I started looking for a smaller place, nothing fancy, just enough room for Silas and me. Before I began searching, I asked him if he'd mind downsizing to a smaller apartment. Silas wound his tail around my arm and nodded, like his life depended on it. I'll go wherever you go, Hazel. You gave me my life back. You're my only family. He'd figured out early that hearing my name did something to me, my ribs, and ever since he never called me anything else. Made something warm bloom behind the word family made me curious, though. Fresh out of the bath, Silas looked pale and clean, and he carried a quiet strength that didn't match an unranked therian at all. So, how had he ended up on the black market? He shook his head. He didn't know. He'd lost his memory and woken up there with nothing, not even his own name. He'd been badly hurt at the time. The people running the market weren't about to waste money on medicine for him, let alone take him for a proper class evaluation. The only reason he survived was that his body healed on its own. How long did that take? I asked.
Silas thought about it.
About 2 months. My breath caught. When Arthur and Felix, both S-class, were brought home half dead, it took over a year of round-the-clock care and top-grade medicine to get them back on their feet. Silas had recovered from worse injuries, with nothing, in 2 months. What the hell was he? I was still turning that over, wondering whether I should take him in for a proper evaluation, when 2 familiar voices drifted in from outside the front door. Arthur, you sure she's hit her limit? Felix's voice came first, then Arthur's, calm and clinical as always. Positive. The neighbor said she hasn't left the house in 5 days. The second we walk in, she'll be begging for it. When she does, play it cool, don't give in too fast. Felix laughed, low and sure of himself. Got it. The door swung open before I could move. Hazel, we're back, you still want to dash? Felix's voice died in his throat. Silas's clothes were all over the floor with mine. I was half-dressed, and my skin was covered in the marks he'd left behind. The air told the rest of the story. Arthur and Felix's backs arched at the exact same time, the instinctive threat posture of white tiger therians, spines rigid, muscles coiled. Felix's eyes locked on the spot behind me. Hazel. Who is he? Before I could answer, Silas's arm slid around my waist from behind. He rested his chin on my shoulder, tail swaying in a slow, lazy arc. When he spoke, his voice was drawling, smooth, and absolutely meant to provoke. I'm Hazel's mate. Felix looked like the words had hit him in the chest. Mate. His voice pitched up and cracked. Hazel, you wouldn't even mate with us, and you let some random bastard off the street dash. He couldn't finish. We all knew what the rest of that sentence was. I hadn't mated with them. That part was true. It wasn't because I didn't want to. Exactly 6 months after they healed, I'd worked up the nerve to ask, quietly, carefully, whether we could go to the registry and turn the bill of sale into a mate bond. Arthur said nothing. Felix laughed in my face. A mate bond? You really think you're worth that? I never brought it up again. Silas ducked behind me, peering at the twins over my shoulder with wide, innocent eyes. Hazel, are these the 2 beast slaves you got rid of? They look completely unhinged. And so aggressive toward you. A beat. Then softer. No wonder you got rid of them. What the fuck did you say? Felix lunged. Arthur caught him just in time. But Arthur's expression had gone just as dark. Hazel, this isn't over. You couldn't even wait 48 hours before bringing someone else home? You don't see how messed up that is. The comments blew up across my vision. Shameless. The villainess actually cheated. She betrayed both male leads. The nerve of this woman. SHE was the one who threw a fit about ending the contract, then turned around and picked up some stray? I'm going to be sick. My heart hurts for Arthur and Felix. She is genuinely disgusting. I read those words and laughed, the sharp, brittle kind that came right before I stopped being polite. So when they flirted with Chloe, it was a beautiful love story. When I brought someone home, I was shameless.
Got it.
Out of line. My voice came out harder than I expected, and I didn't pull it back. Did you forget we already settled this? You agreed to end the contract. Who gave you the right to stand here and accuse me of anything? And while we're at it, you took a killing blow for Chloe. Carried her on your back through 20 miles of mountain trail. Flirted with her. Fawned over her. Did that cross a line? I was shaking, but the words wouldn't stop. That double standard is unreal. The room went silent. Both of them stared at me, wide-eyed. Felix's voice dropped to barely more than a whisper. How do you know about that? Arthur's gaze sharpened. Something shifted behind his eyes, a puzzle piece locking into place. His lips parted. Why, you can see them too. The floor seemed to drop out from under me. They could see the comments. This whole time, they'd been seeing them too. Holy shit. The villainess can see us too. Wait, what? The male leads knew this whole time? Massive plot twist. I am literally on the floor right now. So, they've been reading everything we say. The comment feed dissolved into chaos. Arthur looked from me to Silas to the wreckage of the bed, and the pieces clicked together. So, that's what this has been about. His voice was careful, measured. You saw the comments. You found out how the story ends, and that's why you came to terminate the contract. And him. You saw the comments about Chloe, thought we'd actually fallen for her, and went out to find someone else. Arthur always was the sharper of the two. I gave him a cold nod. And if I did? Something loosened in Arthur's posture, almost like relief. Hazel, I can explain. We didn't go near Chloe because we're interested in her. The comments kept saying she's the female lead, that she has a 99% compatibility rate with us. We wanted to know if any of it was true. Felix jumped in, nodding fast. Yeah, we don't believe in some bullshit destiny. It's always been you, Hazel. Arthur took a step forward, and his eyes held an intensity I'd never seen there
Before.
5 years. If this wasn't about you, do you really think we'd waste our time chasing down those comments? Then why didn't you just tell me? The words sliced through the room, and both of them flinched. You could see the comments. You read the ones that said I'd be torn apart by you. And your first instinct wasn't to talk to me, it was to hide it, go chase Chloe, and leave me home alone until my body gave out. Arthur opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Felix rushed forward and grabbed my wrist. We were doing this for you. The comments said our ending was set in stone. We wanted to see if it could actually be changed. And it can. We proved that. His grip tightened. We'd never hurt you, Hazel. How could we? I pulled free, and the sound that came out of me was closer to a snarl than a laugh. If you actually loved me and this was really for me, you would have stayed away from Chloe, not flirted with her, and called it research. You wouldn't have blacklisted me from every clinic. You wouldn't have made sure no therian in the city would come near me. You wouldn't have sat in that office planning to let me suffer until I came crawling back. My voice was shaking. None of that feels like love to me. Felix's face went white. You heard that too? What we said in the office that day? I nodded. The color drained from both their faces. Arthur stepped forward. I can explain that, Dash. I don't need any more explanations. I shook my head. Maybe you wanted Chloe to test whether the ending could change. Maybe you do love me. But even if both of those things are true, the damage is real too. I can't keep living like this, second-guessing everything, waiting for the next blow. My throat burned, but I kept my voice level. Can you just let me go? No, Felix's head came up fast. He grabbed my arm. Hazel, we're not done. You can't just dash. Silas's hand closed around Felix's wrist. Hazel said she's done with you. His voice was light, almost pleasant. What part of that are you not getting? All Felix's fury found a target. Who the hell are you? Felix swung without thinking, a wild, full-force punch aimed straight at Silas's face. Silas tilted his head and let the fist cut past his ear, then drove his elbow into Felix's chest. Felix choked, stumbling back 3 steps. Arthur was already moving, a low, sweeping kick aimed at Silas's legs, The kind of strike that had ended careers on the battlefield. Silas didn't dodge. He raised his leg and met it head-on. Bone met bone with a dull, wet crack, and Arthur's stoic mask shattered. His tibia snapped cleanly in half. Silas didn't even flinch. He used the momentum, grabbed Arthur by the collar, and hurled him across the room. Arthur crashed through the coffee table. Broken glass bit into his back. Felix came from the side, claws out, white tiger instinct in full control, and slashed straight for Silas's throat. Silas caught his wrist mid-swing and twisted. The joint popped, a sick, ugly sound that filled the room. Felix screamed and dropped to his knees. 2 S-class white tiger therians. 1 broken bone. 1 dislocated wrist. In exactly 22 seconds. The comments lost their minds. What the hell, what the hell, what the hell? What is that snow leopard? He just crushed 2 S-classes in a 2-on-1? That's SSS tier at least. Wait, there's only one character in the original novel who can take 2 S-classes at once. The big bad. That ancient bloodline snow leopard therian, Silas. Isn't he supposed to show up way later in the story after the female lead buys him from the black market? How is he with the villainess? It's over. The male leads are self-aware and the final boss fell for the side character. This entire plot just went off the rails. The comments had already spoiled the entire plot for me. In the original story, Silas was a tragic figure, a shattered past, completely isolated, until the female leads saved him. He was supposed to fall for Chloe. When Chloe chose the male leads instead of him, something inside Silas snapped, and he became the big bad who burned the whole world down.
Wait.
Silas was supposed to fall for Chloe, which meant he'd eventually turn on me because of her, just like everyone else in this story. A fresh wave of ice hit my veins, and I took a blind step back. Silas caught me in less than a second, pulling me tight against him. Hazel, don't believe that. I won't fall for her. I want you. I froze. Arthur and Felix froze. The comments froze for exactly 2 seconds, then detonated. No way. The villain can see us too. This world is glitching. We're literally part of the plot now. Forget the glitching. Has anyone processed what's happening? Both male leads and the big bad are all falling for the villainess now. What happens to Chloe? This is the villainess's fault. She's ruining everything by making everyone obsessed with her. Oh my god, enough. Name one bad thing the villainess has actually done. Go ahead. I'll wait. You people have been calling her evil since chapter 1, and she hasn't done a single thing wrong.
Exactly.
She literally saved both male leads and the big bad. If anything, they owe her their lives. The comments spiraled into an all-out war, half of them tearing me apart, the other half defending me for the first time. Then something must have glitched because the feed vanished. All of it. Gone. The room went dead silent. Silas spoke into the silence. Hazel, I'm not going to turn into what they said. I'm not going to destroy anything. His voice was raw, stripped of all the teasing I'd gotten used to. I just want to be with you. His eyes were wet. Something in my chest cracked open. Okay. I turned to Arthur and Felix. My voice came out steady, flatter than I'd expected. I'll find a new place and move out. I signed the termination papers while you were still on your mission. This was over before you came back. Take care of yourselves. We don't need to see each other again. I paused. Whatever happens with you and Chloe, that's your story, not mine. I tipped my chin toward the door. Now, please leave. They stared at me, throats moving around words they couldn't get out. Silas stepped forward, half a pace in front of me, and his presence pressed down on the room like gravity had shifted. They had nothing left to fight me with. Their fists clenched at their sides, and they turned and walked out without a word. The moment the door clicked shut, Silas lowered his head and nuzzled my hair. Hazel, come with me to Frost Peak City. His voice was soft, careful, like he was afraid of asking for too much. The fight shook something loose. I remember now, it's where I came from. It's far from the capital. No Chloe. No comments. No story written for us. I looked up at him, At the steady certainty in his eyes, the stubborn set of his jaw. I nodded. 72 hours later, on the morning we left, Silas and I carried our bags downstairs and found Arthur and Felix already waiting at the bottom. They were wearing matching leather jackets I'd scraped together my tips to buy them, back when I still believed gestures like that mattered. They'd always refused to wear them, said they were too plain, that they didn't fit their image. Now they wore them like penance. Too late. Felix saw me and dropped to his knees. Master, don't go.
Stay.
Please. I thought I made myself clear. I looked away. His eyes brimmed with tears, the rims stark red. I was wrong. Everything I said before I was wrong.
I didn't mean it.
I can't lose you, Hazel. Just give me one more chance. It's over, Felix. I said it the way I'd said it before, quiet and final, and turned to take Silas's hand. I made it 3 steps before someone caught my wrist. I assumed Felix had chased me, but when I turned, it was Arthur. The sight stopped me cold. His eyes were red.
Wet. Wrecked.
The man who never cracked, who wore that stone face through every crisis I'd ever seen him in, was crying. Hazel, don't go. His voice broke on my name. I'll never do this to you again. I'll never leave you alone during a flare-up. Never. Silas can't take care of your condition alone. He can't. We could all live together. The 4 of us. Your condition is too dash. We don't need that. I said it gently because what came next was going to hurt, and I found that I didn't want to be cruel about it. I took Silas to the registry for an official evaluation yesterday. He's an SS class, the rarest rank in the Empire, and he has a healing attribute. I let that sink in. My touch starvation has been getting better since I've been with him. The symptoms are manageable now. And even if I do flare up dash, I met Arthur's eyes. He's the only one I want. Arthur staggered back. How? That's not your lying, right? Hazel, I was wrong. I never will dash. I didn't stay to hear the rest. His voice followed me down the street, breaking apart behind me like something that had been held together too long. I kept walking. Silas's hand was warm around mine, steady and sure. I didn't look back. Not once. Frost Peak City was waiting.
Today's moral of the story: if someone only realizes your value after you replace them with a hotter, emotionally available snow leopard, congratulations, you were never the problem. Arthur and Felix really said, she can't survive without us. Meanwhile, Hazel was already downloading the upgrade pack named Silas 2.0. Also imagine fumbling a woman so badly that the final boss steals her, heals her trauma, cooks soup, folds laundry, and beats both of you in 22 seconds flat. That's not a love triangle anymore. That's a public execution. And the comment section? Absolute menace behavior. She's evil. For what? Providing free healthcare, housing, emotional support, and rehabilitation services to 2 stray tigers? Be serious. End result: the villainess escaped. The male leads got humbled. The final boss got the girl. And Chloe probably opened the story app like, why is the plot on fire? Moral of the story: don't treat someone like a backup charger and then act shocked when they upgrade to wireless charging.